So you have the floor, and afterwards we will take questions. I will try and be as brief as I can, but first of all, let me tell you who we are, because we are certainly less known than Isvea and Mac, and we are a startup company. We were set up 4 years ago, and we are growing fast. I thank very much partners in the project for involving us in this wonderful initiative, which is IOF 2020. This is what I'm going to talk about. You could read it in the title of my presentation, and everything started with a question. What happens to my wine when it leaves my stocks and is taken to destination? I don't know whether you wondered about this moment in the cycle of the marketing of wine. I'm sure you asked yourself the same question because basically it is so that people at the end of the supply chain complain, and people are told that the wine that reaches client is not the same that was tasted at the winery. So apparently something must have occurred during transport. What happens is what Stefano also pinpointed to, and so we are going to talk about transport conditions. You see, we created a digital platform. We use the cloud, and we use this platform to monitor and track wine during transport. We, by doing so, exploit the know-how and data and trackability data of previous projects, because of course you needed to follow the product, but you also must know how things develop over the course of time. Why do we do that? We do so because we want to give visibility to players in this field, and we want to know who is responsible for what, when, and why, possibly. It is not so that we want to blame one or the other, but we wanted to put a remedy to what has to be corrected in this global supply chain. We also want to understand better how the product is stored. So again, there is a platform, and I go online, I see the critical point in the distribution chain, I see whether it was stored under wrong conditions, I see whether there are alerts, I decide to share or not to share this information with other people along the chain, who might be the supplier or producer or whatever, because data in general indicate the fact that the product moves, is transported, is under stress conditions, and of course we want to intervene so that it remains as intact as possible. We also share documents about the product. What is important is that this is an open platform, open in terms of being open to different systems and algorithms, included the ones that were presented earlier on. It is open in terms of using data loggers, which are IoT devices which can trace in a way and track the product and send information to the platform that then processes information and data. What we can see here is, for instance, the route that was followed by the wine, where it was stored poorly. If I want, I can also have more than that in terms of information, but I would say that we want to make a lean use of data because we want to have a rapid overview of what happened and when, based on what I said earlier on. If you then want to have the details, you can get the details because you have plenty of data. We are also convinced that you have to analyze data in order to know better in the future. As I said, documents can be shared with clients, with insurance companies, with other players along the supply chain. I may also decide that when there is an integrity alert, I receive this alert and I can be the owner of the winery, the export manager, the enologist, or the client if I decide to share information with my client. Data output are available because on the field we have sensors which travel with the product, and they record a number of parameters, location, temperature, light, humidity, possible accidents. So I know about all what happens during the transport of the wine. How does this work? Well, how can I track and trace my product? I know I'm oversimplifying, but I can simply go to the platform and say, I'm shipping white wine from Emilia-Romagna to Holland. This wine is accompanied by documents. It is a spumante white wine. It has to be stored under specific conditions, let's say at 10 to 12 degrees temperature. So I can set the temperature. And if the temperature is not within range for 3 hours, I get an alert. If it is 4, 5, 6 hours, everybody gets an alert because this is a huge problem that has to be solved, which means that you have an automatic response to problems. This information is entered, as I told you, and this can also be done in an automatic way. Then there is a person on the field with a data logger pushing a button using an app, and this means that the IoT device, which is connected to the internet, is placed onto the pallet in the container and starts recording data which automatically are uploaded into the platform and are then analyzed. As I told you, you have also a list of alerts, so you understand what happened when the time range and periods during which the temperature range was not respected, and so on and so forth. I can also have on a single dashboard all shipments, all alerts, and all problems. As you can see, the supply chain that we address at this very moment with the application I tried to explain is the one going from the producer to the distributor, or let's say from the producer to the first actor in the supply chain that receives the product. If the data logger is on the pallet and the pallet is in the container, then the pallet is opened, everything is redistributed, and so things change. So you actually record data for this first part, and this is what we can follow. We also decided we would upgrade the platform and make a step forward. We wanted to try and trace and track the product beyond the first phase as well, because of course problems do not only occur during the first shipment phase while the product is on a lorry or a ship. So we wanted also to continue following the product afterwards, which is the reason why we added the second part of the project. The idea being that of tracking and tracing not only the distributor, but also the retailer. So we follow the product up to the retailers, which are the shops where people will buy the product, the intent being that of providing consumers with a product which really meets their expectations as closely as possible. You see, producers oftentimes say, I work, X works, and that's it. Then it's not my problem. But times are changing, and many no longer think in this way, because you see, it is you, the producer, who is connected to our product. You are on the label, and consumers recognize you as producer. Of course, the shop is also responsible, but clients will remember you, producer, you, your label, and your wine. So we want to use the data logger per box, in boxes, and not simply on the pallet. If you put a data logger in the boxes, you will have information about the second phase of transport as well. We use Bluetooth and an app to track and follow the product. And we continue using the same platform, which, as I told you, is open. What is of interest here is not only to give information to retailers, because this is something that helps retailers in their marketing activity, and retailers can also alert producers directly about the conditions of the product if need be. With this new option, the entire supply chain knows about the product that has been tracked, and we use the blockchain technology, which is by now well known on the market. What is also important is to involve insurance companies. You see, at the moment, it is difficult for insurance policies to devise policies which are fit and suitable for wine, but they do so in other instances, for instance with black boxes for cars, because they have plenty of information. For this does not apply to wine, or at least not yet, because data is not equally available for wine. Insurance companies do not know how the product is managed throughout the supply chain. But if that changes, if we have data to make available to insurance companies, we think that insurance companies will be able to devise and draft policies that can be used to cover the product as if it were a car insurance system. Like black boxes for cars, we will have the same system for product. I hope that I was fast enough and clear enough. Thank you. Very